Let's start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ICRES conference. I hope today, first I will be moderating the session. I hope that you have a productive session today together with your presentation and discussion and question. I will start. But before we start, I think all of you know now that it's 15 minutes each. I think our colleague is from Indonesia is not available. I don't know whether she's available or not. If not, Hafiz, can you keep track of the time on my behalf?
Inshallah, Professor.
Okay, because sometimes while presenting, you may miss exactly the time that you have to cover. Okay. If you just like as it seems that on the screen, I have. It's not in fact an experimental research. It's a critical reflective discussion paper. And I will tell you, in fact, what triggered this paper is that I see from my observation and also from the data that we collected that academic advising, by and large, at the college and university level, is separating this important division from career advising. We will see, in fact, what is academic advising, why it's important, and why it's important to have academic and career advising together in one division. And more, in fact, we will be talking about what is, as I said, academic advising and the alignment that should exist between the way we teach and the way we assess and the way we advise. In other words, there must be an alignment process between academic and career advising and the way we teach and the way you assess. We will try to see whether what's going on in the world, this is not a specific setting, by the way, but this is from also experience, observation, and data-driven, that academic advising is completely separate from career advising. Based on the discussion that we will have, we are proposing a localized, flipped academic and career advising model. We will see what we mean by localized. Glocalization, we will talk more about it a little bit. And also, what are the driving forces that stand behind this flipped, localized model? I'll end with some opportunities for institutional improvement. Let me start with this photo. You might have seen this photo before. This is one of the most, I think, famous photos that exist online. Some of you, once you see this photo, you may think it's a young lady. Others will perceive it as an old woman. No problem. It's the way you perceive it. But with a very important but, once you perceive it in a certain way, there will be certain consequences. There will be also certain direction that you have to follow. Academic advising is the same. Once you perceive it in a certain way, it follows that there will be certain consequences. The literature, in fact, gives us an understanding of two important models, a descriptive model and a prescriptive model. The prescriptive, like when you give someone a prescription, it's a student, of course, centered approach. Students here are completely voiceless. They don't have a voice. This is a behaviorist approach. This is the prescriptive, which is the one on the left side. Here, you as an advisor, as an academic advisor, you plan everything, you design, and the students must follow your way. No way for argument. Okay? The other side of the coin is a descriptive model. And this descriptive model gives the students a leeway, a voice to be heard. Okay, and life experience also, what exactly you think you should do. So here it's a learner-centered or a student-centered. So when you develop, no, you are going to co-develop. You are not going to be the only one who's going to develop the degree plan. Here we are talking only about degree plan and the like. These two models prevail, in fact, across the world. A descriptive and prescriptive. Of course, the prescriptive follows a behaviorist teaching, learning, and assessment model. And we will see now that must be a consistency between the way we teach and the way we advise. On the other side, it's a constructivist. The one on the right side is descriptive, and it's a constructivist-based approach. Fine. Both of them, in fact, follow this traditional model, a bottom-up approach. Okay, you get the student, explore his own career goals or career goal and the like, and then you describe. Here we are not prescribing. Yes, no problem. You describe the academic program and the major. Okay, choose your major. Let's sit together and we have your degree plan, and now take your schedule and go and register. So it's a registration advising, in fact. This is an oversimplification of what it should be, in fact. This is an oversimplification of academic advising. Academic advising should go beyond registration. But there are so many questions, in fact, that come into play. Maybe I highlighted some of these questions. Can we separate the way we advise from the way we teach and assess? What is the relationship between teaching and advising? Is there any desired need for this consistency? There must be consistency or not, and why there must be consistency. And in order to reflect on these questions, we need to know what type of instructional model we are following. The problem is that if you don't, in fact, follow a certain school of thought, but I'm hypothetically considering that this institution or even a school, so whether it's a school, whether even a community college or a university, I take for granted that they follow a certain school of thought in teaching, learning, and advising. On the left side, we have the teacher-centered. Here, the only important person is the teacher, who's all the time giving instructions, and we know that this is the behaviorist approach. On the other side, this is the student-centered. You will find that from this graph that the student-centered is in alignment with the descriptive approach, and the teacher-centered is in alignment with the prescriptive approach. Fine. Is this the model? Yes. This is most of the universities are following. So what is the problem? In fact, the problem here is that we are oversimplifying the academic process, the academic advising and career advising process, because it's not, both of them, they have one goal, is to ensure that the students are on the right track in terms of their own degree. But this is not in fact, the goal of academic advising. So since we have to understand first, since we talk about here, maybe I go back a little bit, since we talk about student-centered approach, this means here we are flipping the process of the teaching learning process and the assessment even. Since you flipped, here this is the issue, since you flipped the teaching, learning, and assessment process and consider that the student as an integral part of this process, you need to also flip the academic advising. The problem, it happens when you have a constructivist approach and you let the advisor just prescribe. Here you have a problem. But this is not all. you will see now that even the flipped is not enough. Because flipping the process, good to have the student's voice heard, but you need to go more than that. The process that we are recommending, the model that we are recommending is a flipped, yes, it's a flipped, meaning that it's a prescriptive. It's not prescriptive, it's a descriptive. In other words, you are going to describe the process. But this descriptive approach has to be localized. And there are certain, when I talk about globalization, I am talking about the student need to get an understanding of the global environment with a local insight. In other words, after all, when he graduates, he needs to understand his local environment. If you keep just internationalizing even the education without a local insight, the student or the graduate will suffer from the labor market demands. Here we are talking about three important forces behind this model, behind the model that goes beyond descriptive or prescriptive. So the model that here I'm talking about is neither descriptive nor prescriptive. It is a flipped model, but localized. And why localized? Because it takes into consideration the labor market needs. The traditional model, unfortunately, the traditional model marginalizes the needs of the market, because that's why, who is doing the advising? Is it the faculty? Does the faculty know really the needs of the market of today and the needs of the market of tomorrow? This is a big question, a very important question. Now, very important to know what are we driving at. The flipped teaching learning assessment model, which is the constructivist, it's known. Here we are talking about learning by doing, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning. Okay. This has to be in alignment with the localized model that we are. Of course, it's a flipped. When I say flipped, meaning that the student is the center and not the teacher, not the faculty. It's still, yes, that's why it's a flipped model. Flipped model meaning that you are going to have the main integral part of the process is the student. Okay, but globalization here indicates, in fact, we need to go beyond this colonized process of academic advising. Why I'm saying colonization here? What do you mean by colonization and decolonization? The colonization era, in fact, is still there. It didn't disappear from the academia. You find that the education system all the time is being internationalized. And in fact, it has its own background in the Western arena, with a full marginalization of the local insight. That's why, of course, if we talk about the teaching learning process, which is completely internationalized, this means that when you advise, you will advise based on the internationalized perception. And the model that we are, in fact, promoting is localized, to go beyond this internationalization of education, to decolonize academic advising and career advising. And both of them should be related together. You should not have discrete entities. So here, what I'm talking about is that we need to have this, the localized principles. Localized principles means what? Means that you understand whatever problem, whatever issue, whatever concepts from a global perception, but with a local insight. Without the local insight, you will never graduates who will be able to help their society. Who can really make a difference? It's the academic advisor who is going to, you need to localize him. You need to localize the academic advisor. In other words, you need to decolonize the academic advisor's mindset and the career advisor also. So in other words, when I say decolonize means get out of the international arena. The international is part of the globe. It's not the globe. So this means what? This means that the local must come into play. Here, I will end with some maybe recommendation. As I said here, universities and even K-16, I'm talking about, especially this is a conference about mainly about education. So I'm not talking here about college, universities only. I'm even talking about schools. They need to consider a constructivist, localized academic and career advising framework. You need to develop a framework. Most of the universities, they don't even have a plan. They don't have an actual framework. This localized perception must be in alignment with the institutional mission and the strategic goal, as I said in my first recommendation. My second recommendation is you need to adopt data-driven and even evidence-based decision-making process regarding what you are going to have, regarding the stakeholders. After, of course, you collect your data, you need to know whether your service is really impactful or not. This is very important in order to have a well-developed decision-making. Training programs to enlighten the academic and career advising faculty. And I'm saying faculty here because unfortunately in the career advising department, you find staff. Staff, they don't have anything. They just assign internship, and maybe later on they help students to get a job. That's all. But they don't know exactly the competencies or the skills that the market needs. Even the faculty, they need to be trained. They need to be, I would say, educated, to be enlightened of what exactly globalization means. Online session must be developed for all the stakeholders. Also, I would advise here that the school, especially the school or the college or university, needs to be the main hub, the main digital platform, as I said here, for promoting an in-depth understanding of this globalization principles. Globalization will make a big difference. Connecting career advising with academic advising, you will find that these are inevitably connected, will make a big difference. Do I still have some minutes?
Just if you can wrap up. If you can wrap up, only 1 minute.
Okay. So in conclusion, what I say now, from my observation and the observation of others, and from even the data collected, we find that academic advising is a marginalized, really, is a marginalized skill. It's something that needs to be taken into consideration. What exactly academic advising, and whether even this is part of our own mission and part of our own goals. So we need to institutionalize this concept. We need to institutionalize globalization. You will never, ever, forever be able to have a good academic and career advising without institutionalizing the concepts that you are promoting. Here I'm promoting localized academic and career advising. So an understanding of globalization principles, what it means. Of course, this means that I will integrate these localized concepts in my curriculum, in my educational system. Accordingly, by default, it will be reflected in my academic and career advising. So in other words, there must be a strong alignment between the way you teach, the way students learn, the way you assess, and the way you advise, whether it's a career advising or academic advising. And unfortunately, this is, I would say, needs more attention. I know that some universities are trying even to institutionalize it, but I would say that considering this even at the high school and the intermediate school, even elementary school, will make a big value. By the way, even this is from my experience. When I used to visit schools and I asked them about academic advising, you find that students, they really don't know anything about it, even at the college level. And it has its own really negative consequences. By the end, students or the graduates will never be able to know where they go. So career advising must be together with academic advising, interrelated, intertwined, interwoven, because you cannot separate them, in fact. And if you separate them, you will end up with graduates who don't know even the market needs, because advising means not to advise them regarding their degree plan only. Degree plan is just simplification of academic advising. You need to advise them regarding the market needs, what exactly the market will look like in the future. All these important concepts can be integrated within a globalized academic and career advising model. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Any question, dear colleagues, to Professor Mohamed?
Okay, thank you, Professor Hafid and Mr. ALG. Sorry for I'm late. Let me ask you something. One question, okay, Mr. L. Do you think that we should always focus on the global demands in developing education in our country, even though we are aware sometimes of the impact of industrial dehumanization?
So what you are, if I understand you well, by the way, my name is Mohamed Elgeddawy. So whatever I think you are breaking. I think you are still talking, but you are breaking.
Oh, sorry.
Can you just briefly say what you said again?
Okay. Do you think that we should focus to fulfill the global demands in developing education in our country?
I understood now the question. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
When we talk about global demands and forgetting all about the local needs, we will have a problem, by the way. Because when you focus only, there is no way you are part of the global sphere. You cannot separate yourself from the other. When I consider only the global perception, this means that the other is trying to otherize me. In fact, the self and the other, if you consider yourself as a self and the global world or the whole world is the other, both of them need each other. The global perceptions, the global needs, in fact, are also, or the global sphere or the global society needs to understand your culture, needs to understand your needs. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to even sell their product. The same happens with education. They need also to enlighten themselves. The other, when I say the other, I mean the internationalized educational system need to have an idea about the needs of the local market of different countries. I don't need now to just say internationalized, Western-oriented education must be followed elsewhere. No, I would say that it's important. You can say that it's this globalized educational system is important in relation to my needs. In other words, I need to understand the global society, the global needs in relation or with a local insight. The local insight, if it doesn't exist, this means that yourself will not be able to have an impact. In other words, we act and get acted upon. We cannot be just receptive. No, we have to be dynamically active. Okay.
Okay.